Okay, we should be live. Let me just check again real quick. Yep, everything looks good. I feel like I wonder how long it's been since I streamed like this. Probably like 3 or 4 months. Mhm. I don't know. I just got like I don't know if burnt out is the right word, but like just wasn't fun. So stopped for a bit, but now I'm back. So you guys have to deal with me. I have two videos pulled up. One is this is the first one I want to go over. This is a video about where is it? Why can't I find it? Here it is. This is a video about this book, Mystery by Robert Greene, which I think is some of his finest work. And it's quite unfortunate that, like, I don't know, I guess you get this anytime you get a lot of success, is that you kind of get pigeonholed into one thing. But some of the stuff Robert Greene puts in this book is extremely fascinating. And I think if you follow the blueprint in this book, it's going to help you kind of find your way in the creative sphere. And that's essentially what this book is about. And I found this video, I want to say a week or two ago, and I've just wanted to react to it ever since and maybe talk about some of the concepts. So the main ideas that stick out to me from this book, again, I haven't read it in 2 years now, and I've revisited it a few times, but I'm completely like I don't cite it, I don't really talk about it as much, so I'm not as familiar with it. But what I remember from it is essentially what Robert Greene sought out to do with this book is show you how people became masters at a subject, show you how people kind of found their own path and how it kind of guided them in a certain direction, and how you could do the same thing. And the first step is to essentially go back to your childhood and find the things that you were fascinated by, find the things that you were engrossed in. And for me, it was always imagination. For me, it was always literature. For me, it was always in some facet being creative. And the more I find myself drawn to those subjects, the more I am just at home and at peace. And then after you get to that stage of things, once you find out what you want to do, what you are really driven towards, you have to find a master. You have to find someone to learn under. You have to find somebody that will show you the ropes. And for me, it's been all the people that I've studied. For me, it's been all of the books that I've read, and I guess you could say the masters I've studied under. And then the next step from that is to step out into your own and achieve the requisite level of trial and error. And there's this rule, it's called the 10,000 hour rule, and it was coined by Malcolm Gladwell. And essentially, there's this, I don't remember if he did a study or if it was just kind of this somewhat goal that if you reach this, then you will more than likely become an expert at something. But essentially it's one of the most aspirational ideals, is that if you reach 10,000 hours of practice, that's something you are proficient enough to be considered a master. And essentially it's all about getting to that goal, getting to that state where you have practiced something for 10,000 hours. And I don't know if I'm quite there yet with it when it comes to these kinds of things, but yeah, we're back to teaching. Yeah, I only did this because you were annoying me so. I don't know, the other kinds, like the only reason to do the other types of streams is just it spreads the message to different people. So like if I do a stream like this, it's just gonna get less views because it's not in a shorts feed, and I'm not gonna have as many people in it. So like I need to find a good balance of like doing streams like this where I can be more informative and then also having the ability to be seen by more people. But yeah, we'll get into this video. I was just waffling for a little bit.
A different mindset.
Oh, this is too loud.
I want you to go
Is it too loud? Let me know.
against the tide of the 21st century and develop mastery. I wrote a book. It came out, I think, 10 years ago now, maybe.
Probably his second best book, I would say. I think I would have to put it there. Certainly, is either his best book is this or The Laws of Nature, and I feel like it depends on the day when I choose one or the other. It's good. What's up, Sahida? How's it going?
Maybe 9 years ago, called Mastery. It is my fifth book, and it's a very, very important book, and I'm going to summarize it for you. I'll just say first that the reason it's so important is a lot of people nowadays are very undisciplined. They think because of their phones and because of technology, they can get whatever they want just by clicking, just by pointing their finger, and it kind of carries over into all aspects of life. And I want you to develop a different mindset. I want you to go against the tide of the 21st century.
You look like a floating head. So what are you saying here? There certainly is something to this. I really love. So if you're not familiar with Aldous Huxley, he's one of the greatest writers who ever lived, and his final novel is called Island, and essentially it's a response to his greatest novel or most recognized novel, which is Brave New World. And it's really an antidote to the coming age of distraction and how distraction is going to be the destruction of humanity. And essentially there's these birds that fly around and they yell attention, attention, attention the whole time to remind you how important it is to focus and remind you how important it is to keep your mind directed and be aware of what's going on around you because think of how much of our day is lost doing things that we don't necessarily like. You know what I mean? Like I have a really bad habit of this. The moment I wake up, I check my phone and I'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna check a text message. Then next thing you know, it's like 5, 10 minutes later and I'm on whatever social media and it's like, why did I do that? I already set off my day on a bad precedent. And it's the little moments of reprieve that we have from life that we can just relax, but we need that dopamine hit. And one of the greatest things that you can do is just focus your attention onto something. Focus your attention on an idealized state. Think about how it would feel if you could already do something and convince yourself that you can do it. Because when you operate from the mind that you can already do something and you start working and taking the steps, then you are that much more likely to get it. I mean, it's not necessarily a distraction if you're learning something. I don't think just like obviously there's some level of entertainment in this because it's on the internet and you're taking time out of your day and this video is highly edited and stuff like that. But like I think if you're actively seeking out information that's not being distracted, I think if anything, it's being aware, it's being intentional. And then we could debate about how important the educational value is. It's like if we were doing a political stream, then it's nonsense because the news changes every single day and it's just stuff to worry about for today and we'll forget about it tomorrow and then the same thing will happen next week and nothing will change and I don't find that educational. I find ideas educational. I find ideas that are inspirational, ideas that can change the path of your life educational. It's how am I? I'm not too bad. I can't complain. Been trying to stream a little more. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. It's just some days I just don't want to do it. Some days I do. But I'm committing to Wednesday, Friday, and I think that's going to be a good start. Because that'll certainly mean that you guys get at least 2 streams a week, but maybe more. Hopefully not less. But yeah, I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. So I hope you said everything's good with you. That's good to hear.
And develop mastery. So, how do you do it? There are 6 steps that I lay out in the book. The first step is by far the most important, and it's not by far the most important in the book, it's the most important thing in your life. You master this first chapter, and everything else will fall into place. It's discover your life's task, discover what makes you unique, discover what you were meant to accomplish in life, right? Your calling. What that means is when you were very young, you were a unique person.
So what he's about to say is, I know you could easily dismiss this by saying, well, I can't make money off my passion, but it's a layer of what you're seeking for. Like, I used to daydream as a kid, and that was one of my favorite things to do, and I would become so engrossed in it. And like, I don't necessarily do that now, but what I try to do is I try to write. I try to, in some way, get that same creative juice out. In some way, try to fulfill that need to, in some way, be imaginative. I can tell you've been uploading a lot of videos and I fell behind. It's late here. You need to stream earlier sometimes. I'll try to. It's easier on the weekends, but during the week during the week I try to I work a lot during the day. Like I do some work then, but not that I even work that hard. It's just I can move my schedule around, but it's just usually night works better.
Your DNA, your experience in life mark you out as like nobody else that has ever existed in the past will ever exist in the future. You are one of a kind. You were meant to do something in life that reflects that uniqueness, whether it's in sports, whether it's in music or the arts, whether it's in science and mathematics, whether it's in social and working with other people, whether it's in engineering sense, kind of abstract reasoning. You have a power, a superpower. It was given to you, a seed that was planted.
So essentially what he's saying is that you have something unique about you. You have some unique gift, and this is somewhat Emersonian, the way he's saying it, in that the greatest accomplishment you can have in this world is being yourself. Because, you could copy somebody else and become vastly successful, but you're just a carbon copy of them. You don't offer the world anything unique. And it's your uniqueness that brings life into this world, that breaks the world of monotony, that breaks the world of systems and control and keeping everything the same way and keeping everything boring. Essentially you're the flowers in the garden. You're the flowers in the forest that give color to the world.
Your birth. And if you know what that uniqueness is, if you're able to hone in on it, now when you're 20 years old and you enter the work world, you have a sense of direction. I love physical things. I'm born for athletics, for sports. All right, now you can follow that path. And then eventually in your career, you'll turn that into something larger. Or for me, it was writing, etc. I experiment.
Not everyone can follow their passions. What are you talking about? Like, your passion doesn't have to be your entire existence. You can find 5, 10 to pursue it. I think that's like, I don't want you to go down that train of thought because that's exactly what you're set out to believe in the school system. It's set out to destroy your creativity. It's set out to destroy your spark. But I would argue if you find time for the little things, if you find time for the things that make you happy on a daily basis, it's going to give you more of an ability to do the monotonous things, to do the things that you don't enjoy. Because at the end of the day, you know what? I set a little bit of time away for when I can do this or when I can do that. I think that's the wrong way of approaching things. It's not being a contrarian. It's just the world isn't absolutes. So like whenever you make an absolute statement like that, it's a dangerous area to go down.
Experimented. I tried different forms of writing, but knowing that that was
I've been cursed with your presence.
my life's purpose gave me an incredible sense of direction. In my book, Master, I give you all kinds of tips for discovering it. It's a voice inside of you that you're not listening to, but that you can rediscover. Once you find your life's task, you then enter in the second phase, which is the apprenticeship phase, which is the most important in a way. I mean, the first one is the key. The second one is the most kind of critical for your progress. It's the period in your 20s when you're learning various skills. You want to value learning.
See, and I think he goes to. I don't like how he's saying in your 20s because it doesn't have to be in your 20s. Like there are people who retire early and then go back to school and have entirely different careers because of they found out something that they want to do. I had a teacher that he worked for NASA, and then once he had a family, he didn't want to spend all that time doing all that stuff. So he went back to school and then became a teacher, and he loved being a teacher so much more because he just had fun, explaining things to people in a novel way and in a way that made sense to them. And it was just like you could tell that's what he loved doing. And I don't necessarily agree with that. It's like you always have the capacity to learn, but when we shut ourselves off to that capacity, then we kind of become stuck. We become stagnant, and there's not really a point in living if you're going to continue to do the same thing because the entire essence of life is to change. What's the drama? It's definitely
over money. What matters to you is learning as much as you can about that field that excites you, developing skills.
what kind of teacher? He taught, he was a high school teacher actually. I think he teaches college now. He taught like what was it called? AP Calc and stuff like that. So he was teaching like college level calculus, but he was like explaining it in a way that I've never had a professor, and I went to a very good college for STEM, and I never had a professor that could explain things in such a good way.
That you can combine later on when you turn 30, 32 into something unique and powerful, a business, a startup, a book, any kind of career in science or whatever, right?
You're limited by the belief you can't learn beyond a certain age because your neurons aren't as sharp. Okay, like some people can't see as good as other people, but they can't do things. You know what I mean? It's like you can always make the cope that you can't learn as well, but like, i- is that really the way you want to live your life? Do you want to live your life off copes? Do you want to live your life off of, well, I can't do it as good. You know what I mean? Once you're past what, 25, 32, whenever your peak is anaerobically, do you just stop going to the gym because you're not going to be as good as you once were? Like in essence, everything's living and dying. So in essence, you're in some way closer to death than you were yesterday. And do you really want to cope that way? I don't really think that's like a thought that's productive. Oh my, wow. Wait, how'd you find out the baby wasn't his? Did it just like slip or something? What the? That's crazy. What?
You need to be developing skills and taking it very seriously, gaining the discipline that will carry you through life. And just think of your 20s as an apprenticeship phase that you have to go through.
So what he's saying is like being one of the deepest things Jung ever said was the people that begin to integrate themselves are the people that are able to be the fool, the people that are able to be bad at things, the people that are able to, in some way, kind of understand their limitations and build up from that place, play with the darker elements, play with the sides of themselves that they don't really allow to be shown into the light. And through that process, you become purified. Through that process, you become stronger. If you went through a phone, that sucks. Yeah, that's rough. I'm assuming that you did something stupid or said something stupid to her after you found out about this, didn't you?
Just like it did in the Middle Ages, like 7, 8 years of working diligently. And if it's something that you love, it's exciting. The third thing is actually a part of the apprenticeship phase, and it's what I call working with a mentor. So there are no shortcuts to mastery. There are no hacks. There are no way to cut it down from 10 years of hard work to 2 years. But having a good mentor is the only conceivable shortcut.
That's not necessarily true, but there is something to you just need to spend time with ideas, you need to spend time with things, and how how can we better use our time? But there are people that learn faster than others, and the difference is you you think about it all day. You imagine new ways to do things. The people that learn the most in jujitsu, I'll just use an easy example, are not the people that go 6 days a week. It's the people that They go and then after it, they're thinking about what they did and they're thinking of moves in their head to try the next day. It's those people that learn the most. It's those people that expand the most. It's the people that treat it like almost an art form, like almost something that you can use your imagination to become better at. Those are the people that learn quicker. You forgot their girl's name. You broke the car window.
cut. Finding somebody who has experience, who's made mistakes, who can teach you, guide you, who can say, this is good, this is bad, can help you avoid wasting a lot of time and really give you the focus that is necessary. And in mastery, I give you clues for finding the perfect mentor. It's generally someone that you connect with emotionally.
Okay, so this doesn't have to be a physical mentor. Obviously, there's people online that give out a lot of really good information, and the thing about whether to tell somebody has good information or not is, do they give it out for free or do they make you pay? Because if they make you pay, it's probably not good information. If they give it out for free, generally those are the people you want to follow because those are the people that have an actual passion for it, and those are the people that are willing to help you the most. Um, the other thing about this too is you can find your mentors in books. It's obviously not the same as having a personal interaction with a person, but there's so much to be there's so much to be experienced through books in the sense that these are people that dealt with problems centuries ago and they were able to solve them, and it kind of puts things into perspective about how little your problems are in the grand scope of things. You have to go. Well, hopefully everything settles out. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's like your second parent, but it could be a very valuable relationship. The fourth step is what I call social intelligence. And what I mean by that is you could be so brilliant at what you do. You could have all the skill in the world. You could be technically proficient. You can know coding left, right, and center better than anyone else. But if you're not good with people, it won't matter at all.
So there's like this almost weird idea that the world should be a meritocracy, but it's just impossible. It never will be a meritocracy, and there'll always be people that are given favoritism for whatever reason. We can go into the reasons, but that's not the important part of it. But it's not enough to be good at something. It's not enough to be gifted at something. Perhaps Tesla was one of the most gifted minds, but because he did not play the political game, because he could not deal with people and deal with these billionaires and robber barons that he was trying to make deals with, because he couldn't do exactly what they asked. He burned so many bridges that he basically died penniless because he was the great mind, but he wasn't able to deal with people that weren't as intelligent as him. And it's very unfortunate because I mean the world would be completely different if we had all of Tesla's works. And I actually I don't know if Tesla's works would ever actually come out because they were so revolutionary and so so disruptive to the industries that control us and that keep us stagnant and locked in the same position. That was probably a bad example, but
Right? You'll be making mistakes, you'll be offending people, and every time you advance through your brilliant ideas, you'll fall.
Donald Trump has he has he has like a special kind of magnetism. There's people that are charismatic, everybody, and then there's this I don't know if there's a term for this, but essentially his stature is even higher than somebody that's liked by everybody because he's loved by people and hated at the same time. So you have all the people that love him talking about him, and you have all the people that hate him talking about him. So it kind of builds him up to this mythic scale. Think of like Napoleon, or think of various other leaders like that. Caesar's another one that comes to mind. That because they're loved and hated, it brings them a level of prestige that doesn't exist in many different people. I mean, like you could say cult like following about anything. Cult like following is just crowds in general. I mean, it's not really Machiavellian. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved, but not hated. Machiavelli would disagree with a lot of the stuff that Trump does, but he's like I don't know how to explain it, but he has like this just this capture of people's emotions. He's not loved, dude. Go to certain places of the country. I'm telling you, he's loved. And you might not see it, but it's you can't deny it. It's just a fact. Polarizing figure. Yeah, but polarizing to like a different degree. Because there's like polarizing figures that don't like in some way his status is elevated by the the push pull. I mean, is it even that they think of themselves as God sent or the people think that they're God sent? That's a whole nother conversation.
Back because you'll say something stupid, you'll do something.
How am I being dumb? I mean, I don't see politicians as individuals. I see them as amalgamations of collective energies. So
Something bad, and we're a social animal. So this chapter, this part is about developing it like you develop skills in the apprenticeship phase. Your social intelligence is a skill you must develop, and I explain how you need to be empathetic, how you need to be more attentive to other people. If you are socially intelligent and you have skill, the world is your oyster. You will open up, and that opens up to the fifth step in the way, which is unlocking your creativity. Once you have learned all the heuristics, all of the skills you need to learn in your particular field, and you're socially aware, you've worked with a mentor, now you're able to take all of those ideas and make something original and creative. To take that energy.
so this is like stepping out from the master shadow. In essence, think of the idea as you've accumulated the information and now it's time for you to do your own thing with it. It's not enough to be the student for the entire existence of your life. It's the moment that you need to become your own person, take a step out and do things for yourself. What are you talking about? Are you are you crashing?
And do something that no one else has done before. And a lot of people don't do that. They're afraid now. They've learned all the skills, all the things they need to know. But to take that next step and do something different, start their own business, write something new that's never been written before, create an organization that's never been done before, they're afraid of that. They're locked in that apprenticeship phase. They don't want to leave it. They want to stay with the corporation and do what you want. Creativity means I'm going to take all those skills and I'm going to be bold and I'm going to do something new and different.
So essentially what he's saying is break the rules, break the paradigms, break the ideas that you once believed were dictating what it is that you're doing.
And if you follow the path that I lay out in the first four chapters, your mind will start opening up and things will come to you. And I have many stories in there of the beautiful things that happen to people once they enter that realm of starting to be creative with all the major things that they've learned in life. If you take that far enough, if you keep going farther and farther into the creative process, always learning, always being flexible, you will arrive at the ultimate, the sixth step, which is mastery, which I call fusing the intuitive with the rational. You have so much.
So this is the idea, like think of the people that are able to combine their left brain and right brain. They're able to take the things that they learn and then apply them in a unique way. So one of the examples he uses in the book is that Da Vinci, before he became a master painter, was studying the way that flowers fell off trees and the way that they grew and the colors and everything about why did I say flowers? I mean leaves, but the way that leaves fell and the way that they decayed and the way that they grew and everything about leaves, so that when he drew trees, he understood the principles behind it. He understood how to make them realistic, and that's the combination of the creative with the analytical. And when you can operate from both hemispheres of your brain, when you can operate from both sides, that's where you achieve those Mona Lisa like things. That's where you achieve these sorts of works that defy genres and that defy ages and that last on for generations. The balance is very hard to achieve, technicality along with intuition. Yeah, and that's the whole point of why it takes years. Because you need to master the rules so that you can break them, essentially is what he's saying.
Skill, you have so much experience, you no longer have to think. You have a feel for what comes next. You have
A really good example of this in literature is James Joyce. James Joyce is like one of the most well-read people ever, but you would never know because Ulysses is pure gibberish. But it took him reading everything so that he could reference everything and that he could craft this narrative in such a unique way because he pulled from so many different styles and so many different cultures and so many different things.
of an intuition. Ideas come to you out of nowhere. If you're playing chess, you see 40 moves in advance in like a flash of a second. If you're playing the piano, you no longer have to worry about your fingers. You're just automatically doing it. Your mind is elsewhere. It's in the flow.
That's a great way to put it. It's like cooking, you need to follow the recipe first and later you can improvise. That might be one of the best examples. That's really good.
Right? If you're a scientist, discoveries will suddenly come to you. It's a wonderful, wonderful
Einstein said something along the lines of that no discoveries come from the analytical brain, but rather they first come from intuition and then by the analytical brain.
feeling. It's a sublime feeling. And I give stories in there. Many of us may never reach that level. I know I've had flashes of it, but I'm not considering myself I've attained that level of mastery. But it's an amazing feeling, and I want to inspire each and every one of you to reach that level of mastery by going through those 6 steps, by being patient and disciplined, by being creative and independent, and then finally following it to the end where ideas come to you and you are the master of your field. And
Yeah, that was a pretty good video. What am I streaming for? 30 minutes. Okay, I just want to make sure.
On a film.
This audio might be too bad. We'll try to listen to this.
Yeah. And that is the psyche of man. The psyche of man.
Hold on. My screen just like. Okay, I'm still live. Okay, everything looks like it's working. My screen just like flashed. Oh, there's no.
Nowadays we are not threatened by elementary catastrophes. There is no such thing as an H-bomb. That is all man's doing.
Yeah.
We are the great danger. The psyche is the great danger. What?
So what he's talking about is this really interesting idea that obviously there's war, obviously there's famine, obviously there's like natural disaster, but in most places in the first world, there's not really these issues that kind of exist, and human survival is all but guaranteed. Then we could debate on the level of survival and if it's a worthwhile life and all sorts of stuff like that, but we're not afraid for our lives because we're going to get attacked by a bear or a lion or a tiger. But essentially because of this, there's a fundamental lack of meaning because the meaning in life used to be survival. Now that we don't have this, we're kind of our own worst enemy because most of our lives is seeking out this fear, this anxiety, this need to in some way fight against something.
If something goes wrong with the psyche?
Yeah.
See? And so you see, it is demonstrated to us in our days what the power of the psyche is of man, how important it is to know something about it, but we know nothing about it. Nobody would give credit to the idea that the psychical uh, processes of the ordinary man have any importance whatever. One thinks, oh, he has just what he has in his head. It is all from his surroundings. He's taught such a thing, believes such a thing. And particularly if he's well housed and well fed, then he has no ideas at all. And that's the great mistake.
So what he's saying is, how do we come to grips with our inability to live without the need for purpose, live without the need to fight, live without the need to, in some way, go out into the world. Essentially, what he's talking about is the hero's journey and how it's not really met today.
Because he is just that as which he is born, and he is not born as tabula rasa, but as a reality.
Yes.
Jung had a vision at the end of his life of a catastrophe.
Well, don't remember her name. I think this might be Jaffe, I think. One of his top students. I've
It
seen
was a
her hands
world
before.
catastrophe.
I don't want to speak much about it. One of his daughters took notes and after his death gave it. And there's a drawing with a line going down, up and down, and underneath is the last 50 years of humanity.
I'm pretty sure that Jung predicted World War II. He had, like a vision about it, or he saw a dream about it. Jung had a weird, almost like psychic-like ability, premonition. There's a very famous story where he's trying to explain to Freud how important the unconscious and collective unconscious forces are. And he points to a bookshelf and he's like, that book is gonna fall. And then it falls, like it completely collapses, and then Freud is terrified of him. That's a very famous story. But he had these weird, like kind of intuitive forces that seem to follow him his whole life.
And some remarks about a final catastrophe being ahead. But I have only those notes.
Mm-hmm. What is your own feeling about it, the world
Well,
situation?
one's whole feeling revolts against this idea. But since I have those notes in a drawer, I don't allow myself to be too optimistic.
Something similar happened to me after school 'cause for the longest time. I was used to structure and conditioning, and then when I was just on my own, free, it's still confusing. Yeah. No, there's definitely something patterned into you from a very young age to like obey and to do these certain things in a certain way, and because you're rewarded in a certain way with grades and you're praised for acting in a certain way, that when you get onto your own and you do the same things and you don't get rewarded, it's very weird, and it's hard to get any sort of value system from that because you were ingrained with this backwards one from the school system. School system is very insidious when you really start breaking it down.
I think, well, we have always had wars and enormous catastrophes, and I have no more personal fear much about that. I mean, at my age, if you have anyhow soon to go, so or so or so, egocentrically spoken. But but the beauty of all the life, to think that the billions and billions and billions of years of evolution to build up the plants and the animals and the whole beauty of nature, and that man would go out of sheer shadow foolishness and destroy it all. I mean, that all life might go from the planet. And we don't.
I think this is like what I'm reading into this is that this is Young kind of projecting mortality onto the situation. I'm not like one of those people that's like, if the world ends, it ends. Like, why? Who cares? Like, what effect does it have on me? Like, I'll deal with it when it comes. It doesn't serve me any good. It doesn't do me anything to continually live on the idea that everything's gonna come to an end. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, cool. Like it's we assign so much importance into these ideas, and these ideas live with us, and these ideas deteriorate us. Like why believe anything? Why hold on to anything that is going to cause you fear, going to cause you anxiety. I mean, the greatest tool of the devil is fear. Like the devil plays on your fears, or whatever force plays on your fears. When you're in a state of fear, you're in a state of petrification. You can't act, you can't do anything, you can't make your situation better. It doesn't do anything for you because it means none of your plans will come into fruition and you're working. Who cares? Like you understand that anything you do in this world will eventually be washed away by the sands of time. Like any legacy you leave is going to completely be erased. Like Napoleon is probably one of the most important people in all of history, and there are people that can't tell you the first thing about him, and you think you're going to be remembered more than him. And it's like we put too much importance on the external world. We put too much importance on the tangible things. Put importance to the things that matter, dude. Spend time with your family, spend time with your loved ones, spend time with the people that mean the most to you. Like that's really the only thing in this world that is long lasting. That love and essence that you spread through your presence is really the only thing that means anything in this entire world. Everything else is all for naught.
No, on Mars and Venus there's no life. We don't know if there's any life experiment elsewhere in the galaxies. And we go and destroy this. I think it's so abominable. I try to pray that it may not happen, that a miracle happens.
Do you find that young people that you see now are aware of it's in their consciousness?
Yes, it's partly in conscious and partly in their consciousness, and I think in a very dangerous way, namely in a way of giving up and running away into a fantasy world.
And I think this is somewhat reminiscent of the idea of original sin, is that because you exist, you're in some way bad, some way because you exist in some way, you have like cursed the world and you're not meant to be. It's such a weird trope you see in a lot of sci-fi. It's such a weird trope you see in a lot of like doomsday sort of people that believe that they're cursed, that believe that this world is like a prison. It's like why believe these things? Why hold on to these things? Like if the world really is such a bad place, you're not the person doing it. Are you the leaders? Are you the people that are, ordering the people to do the things that are reprehensible in this world? You're not. So why even worry about these things? You're not the cause of it. You're not the solution to it. You're just existing. It's just too much focus is put on existence instead of existing. Okay? Like the more you think about something, the more you can just tear yourself down, the more you can criticize yourself. But if you just stay away from your thoughts, if you just stop giving into this nagging voice, then there's nothing holding you back. There's nothing keeping you stagnant. There's nothing telling you this or this or this or this. There's nothing defining you by other people's characteristics.
You know, when you study science fiction, you see there's always the fantasy of escaping to some other planet and begin anew again, which means give up the battle on this earth. Look, consider it hopeless and give up. I think one shouldn't give up, because if you think of answer to Joe,
If you're learning a skill, isn't it to want to be a master someday? No. If you're learning a skill, it's because you like doing it. And I'm not talking about like skills in terms of business skills. I'm talking about like if you want to learn to play a guitar, if you want to learn how to sing, if you want to learn how to write. Like your hobbies are things that you enjoy doing because you enjoy doing them. You enjoy the process. We get so wrapped up in the end result that we can't enjoy the process. And life is the process. You're forever in states. You're forever in states of getting better at something or getting worse at something, becoming something new or losing what you are now. Like Like in life, you're facing challenges on a daily basis, and you're slowly becoming somebody new at every single second. And the whole point of life is to just exist in that change, exist in that flux. You know what I'm saying? Like you're putting way too much importance into becoming a master at things. Have fun along the way. Have that curiosity, have that ability to laugh at yourself, have that ability to say, I'm a lot better than I used to be, and I'm enjoying this, and this is fun, and this is good, and I'm learning things, and I'm becoming better. Like this is awesome. I promise you, when you're good at something, you'll get bored of it because you'll be so much better than everyone else that they can't compete with you. When you get really, really good at something, you've lost any point to keep going. That's why a lot of championship fighters, once they get that belt, they lose the belt because they already achieved their goal. They did what they set out to do, and they're not hungry anymore. I mean, it's the entire idea of once you get to that mountaintop, there's a higher mountain. It's not about the end goal. How do you get the outcome out of your head? I mean, you get the outcome out of your head by stop giving it so much importance. Like what's the point of the outcome? Why do you want the outcome? Why do you want that end goal? Why do you want that money? Why do you want that fame? Why do you want that status or success? What's the essence of that? And the essence of that is it's really all just projection. It really is just when I look in the mirror, I want people to have told me that I'm good so that I can tell myself I'm good. That's the end goal of every goal, is that I will finally feel good about myself. I will finally accept myself. If you accept yourself now, and if you just imagine you've already done it and you start working towards that state or that goal or that level of proficiency with that idea in mind, then you're gonna have happiness along the way. Don't worry about the means. Just look at what you can do and feel like you can do it right now and don't worry if you fail. Don't worry if you lose. Don't worry if you misstep because any goal worthwhile, the more times you fail, the more joy it's going to bring when you finally succeed. And I think we need to divorce ourselves from the external results. Stop worrying about the external results. Stop worrying about when things will come or when things will happen. It's just enjoy. Have some gratitude, have some graciousness for even being alive, for even having the opportunity to try things. I mean, when we start reframing things in that way, that's when we can start pushing with a purpose. That's when we can start seeking fulfillment instead of seeking an end goal. If you do something for the sake of fulfillment, then it's going to be 10 times better than whatever you're going to get from seeking that end goal. Have you ever read a book by an author that clearly isn't interested in the book anymore? It sucks. But what about when you read a book that was written by somebody that is so engrossed in this world, so engrossed in their series that they just love doing it and they have a passion for it? I mean, like it's one of the easiest things to spot. Like think about Rocky 5, it's terrible. You could tell Sylvester Stallone did not care about the series anymore. He just wanted to make money. But the first few, there was even in the bad ones, even in the movies that weren't any good per se, there was still a heart in it. There was still soul in it.
If man would wrestle with God, if man would tell God that he shouldn't do it, if we would reflect more, that's why reflection comes in.
So this is so stupid too, because it's like, why do I have to take on the sins of everyone else? Why do I have to blame myself for I don't think that's necessarily the right way to approach things. If anything, like you have to forgive other people. Because if you forgive other people, then they no longer hold power over you. And once they no longer hold power over you, then you can start absolving the world of its sins. Or if you want to get your message to people, it's not really for yourself. This is confusing. What do you mean? If you want to get the message to the people, and it's not really for yourself. I think that's the thing about that is, again, you're thinking it in too big of a scale. Like, if you're trying to get a message to a person, if you're trying to explain things to people, then if you're not succeeding, it's because you're thinking about yourself. Like, if your true purpose was to do it for other people, then you would be happy if you just gave it to one person and they absorbed it and they loved it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to write a book to help people, again, if you write a book to help people and it doesn't sell, you were too worried about you were too worried about yourself because I don't know how to put this into words. Like, you're so focused on the end stage of things that you forgot about why you were doing it. Because if you really wanted to help people, if you really wanted to get the most to people, you could start by simply talking to the people that mean the most to you, simply talking to your friends, and then you could talk to more people, and then you could, join groups with people that were having similar interests. Then you could slowly build it up to the thing that you want to be. Because if your end goal is to help people, is a book really the best thing to do? Like there's some selfish goal in that. There's some selfishness in that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that you you get what I'm saying? Like there's an element that's not selfless in that. And it's true that with everything there's an element of selfishness in it, but it's a sliding scale. Are you doing it and people are getting betterment and you're not taking too much? Essentially, that's every business transaction. You always want to give more than you get, but you always get something.
Jung never thought that we might do better than just possibly sneak around the corner with not too big a catastrophe. When I saw him last, he had also a vision while I was with him, but there he said, I see enormous stretches devastated, enormous stretches of the earth.
Again, it's like I don't know if she's I don't feel like Jung would be concerned by this because whenever there's enormous stretches of sadness and pain and heartbreak, it's just it has to do with the ebb and flow of things. Life is cyclical, and there's always going to be periods of strife after periods of peace. And if you're really looking at the bigger picture of things, of course it's going to happen. And who knows, maybe we come out on the other side of it good. There's been cataclysms throughout human history, and it has reset things, and who's to say it hasn't reset them for the better? Who's to say in some way it didn't become good? You know what I mean? Like there's always a silver line. There's always a thing that we need to learn from experience. And I'm just shocked that Young would have this take. It doesn't really make sense to me.
But thank God it's not the whole planet. I think that if not more people try to reflect and take back their projections and take the opposites within themselves, there will be a total destruction.
Again, do it for yourself. Like the whole he's talking about projection. She's not talking. She's obviously projecting her fear for cataclysms and her fear for really just her mortality here. It's weird. That's the thing with it though. You can always like in essence every human interaction is a projection because we shape the world and bias it through our lens. So you can always yeah, I don't know. Let's watch another Robert Greene book or another Robert Greene video.
The laws of human
So
nature.
I think this is maybe Robert Greene's best book. Um, Certainly the most interesting, and he delves into much more detail than other. Your selfish goal is adventure, like having a dream and watching it come to life, and there's no real purpose to life. I mean, that's not really like there's a Tolkien quote that summarizes this idea perfectly. not all who wander are lost. And it's part of a poem talking about Aragorn, but it holds true because essentially, if hold on, I lost my train of thought. If your only focus of the journey is the end stage, then you miss the things in between. But it's the ups and downs, it's the rocky roads, it's the the hills you have to climb, the mountains that you have to overcome that make the journey meaningful. It's not the end goal. You're focusing too much on the least important aspect of things. Like think about it this way. Say you won the lottery in 5 years. Okay. You know you're gonna win the lottery in 5 years, you don't have to do anything. Would that mean as much as if in 5 years you created a successful business or you had a passion and you did something that earned you the same amount of money as the lottery? No, it would be way different. Because in one aspect you're chasing your passion, in one aspect you're doing things that you love. Even if you're failing while daring greatly, you're failing while doing something that you love doing versus just sitting there and wallowing in the same existence that you are right now. Shouldn't your vision be on the destination? Yeah, in a certain sense. And then always looking as to whether that's the destination you want to go to. But what I'm trying to say is don't obsess about the destination. Your obsession should be consumed by, I know I'm going to get this. I don't know when, but I know I'm going to get it. And when you don't have the need for a time frame, when you don't have the need for a why or a how it's going to happen, and you're just pursuing it, that's the point of things. That is the adventure, making yourself better and challenging yourself. Yeah, I mean that's just what I just said.
Is stop pointing fingers outside and look at yourself and recognize that you have these qualities. Okay, I want to sort of summarize The Laws
Why do
of
you say
Human
that's so weird?
Nature, my sixth book, and first just very briefly explain why I wrote that book. I wrote that book because in my consulting work that I do and in the emails I got, I noticed that people were really suffering, were really having a lot of problems because they did not understand the people around them. They were making bad decisions, many of the times based on projections of their own desires of what they wanted to see in people. They
So I think a good rule of thumb is always try to take the other person's side. Like when you're dealing with people, it's really difficult to do in the moment, and usually you can only do it after the fact. But whenever I get into an argument or whenever I try to say something to someone and they're hesitant to it, I try to think through their perspectives. I try to think through their eyes, and generally through doing that, that absolves any sort of ill will I have to them. And if anything, I feel a sort of reverence to them. I feel a sort of compassion to them. Schopenhauer said all empathy derives from the realization that this art thou, which is essentially.
were hiring the worst business partners. They were getting involved with the worst people in romantic relationships. They were having terrible problems dealing with their colleagues, etc. And this is over and over again. And I thought people have this blind spot. They tend to think that because, it's natural to be social, to interact with people, I'm pretty good at it. But no, it's not true. There's actually an art to it. There's actually things you need to learn about this, and you can become better at it. Just as you become better at your career, whatever you do, you can become a more enlightened and more effective social animal because we are social animals. So I wrote the book.
I think there's just certain patterns that you can recognize and take a step back and realize what certain people's intentions are. And I think the more cognizant of it you are, the easier it is to surround yourself with people that want the best for you. Because that's really what we're all seeking out. We're seeking that. Like, do you want a friend that when you tell them good news, they try to tear down the good news, or do you want a friend that when you tell them good news, they're like, dude, I'm so happy for you. In fact, I'm happier for you than if this had happened for me. Like that's the kind of person you want at your back.
to help people dealing with this problem. Because when you don't understand human nature, when you don't understand the human animal, it's like you're operating in the dark, you're groping around in darkness, you're tripping, you're falling, you're making all kinds of mistakes. But if you understand human nature, the whole thing kind of illuminates and you're able to see people for who they are, you're able to see yourself for who you are, you make much better decisions in life, okay? So there are two sides to the laws of human nature. You can't ignore one side or the other because if you do, it won't have any value. The first side is yourself. You have to look inward. You have to be willing to introspect. You have to be willing to face some of the issues and things that you're not good at, some of your own problems, some of the bad.
The more willing you are to look at yourself and resolve those issues, the easier the world becomes. But think about it, like you're not just dealing with the issues between yourself and other people, but you're dealing with the issues of yourself. Like you're fighting two enemies at once. Maybe that person did something wrong to you, but because you have this hold up, because you have this insecurity, because you have this sort of complex inside your head, you can't properly deal with the situation, and it's very difficult to go into this world and not be introspective and not know your shortcomings and not be able to curtail some of your more negative impulses.
Elements in your character. And you'll notice that there are 18 laws in the laws of human nature. They cover various different aspects of human behavior: envy, aggression, narcissism, short-sightedness, our shadow, our dark side, grandiosity, conformity, the whole slew of the 18 deadly human sins that we all have. Your tendency will be, I don't really have those. Oh, no. What's Robert talking about? I don't feel envy. I'm not an aggressive person.
We have all of these characteristics in varying degrees. I mean, it's just human nature, and I think until you recognize that, you can't in any way fix it. You know, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous. The first step is admitting you're alcoholic, right? That's what it is. I hope that's the first step. I hope I didn't just misquote it. But um, essentially, before you can fix a problem, you have to know you have a problem. Before you can do anything about something, you need to admit that it's an issue, because otherwise you'll keep pushing it down. Otherwise, you'll keep saying, "Well, I only acted this way because this person did this to me. I only did this because this person did this to me." And it's like you can't go your whole life doing that. And I really wish you the best because it's going to be a very hard time to live. It's going to be a very difficult existence, and I don't wish that on my worst enemy. I truly think that if more people could come to grips with their shortcomings, then they would not need to look for those of others.
You know, I'm not a narcissist. No, that's that person, my friend that I know. He or she, they're a narcissist. Okay, no, sorry. We all come from the same origins. We are all evolved from the same human ancestors. Our brains are wired the same way. Yes, some people are more aggressive than others, no doubt. Yes, some people are more prone to envy than others, of course. Yes, there are people out there who are deep, deep narcissists. We all know that. But you have those qualities as well. You can't not, because we're all cut from the same cloth. You have it. Maybe it's less obvious, maybe it's more repressed, but it's in you, okay? The laws of human nature is
And what he said is so important there is that essentially what he's saying is don't throw stones from a glass house. Like you have no sin catch a stone. And that when you're judging other people for their shortcomings, you have it as well. So be very careful.
stop pointing fingers outside and look at yourself and recognize that you have these qualities, that you have.
One of the easiest things to start being introspective about is what do you say about other people you don't like? In particular, what do you not like about people? What are the insults you say to your friends? What are the passing remarks you say to people that anger you? Because somewhere in there is your projection. Somewhere underlying those insults, underlying those comments are the thing you need to work on. That's just how I see the world, though. To reach somewhere, most people are okay with being where they are, though. Yeah, but that's like think about think about that aspect of human nature like water. I know I can't say it right, but water wants to find the easiest path. And the easiest path is staying the same. The easiest path is pointing the finger, is not looking towards yourself because it's painful to look towards yourself. It's painful to admit that in a situation you were the asshole, in a situation you were wrong, in a situation you wanted this other person to say sorry, but you should have said sorry as well. It's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to be honest with yourself. And we live in a world where honesty is not rewarded. We live in a day and age where honesty is the last thing that you would want if you want to make something of yourself. And that's why everyone is so shut off. That's why everyone is willing to point the finger. Something goes wrong at a company. Well, guess what? I need to pin it on somebody so they got fired instead of me. But maybe if I had just admitted I went wrong in my instruction, maybe my boss would have some sort of respect for me because I have a backbone. But no, it never happens. It never happens. It never works out that way. It always goes with I need to point the finger because something went wrong and I don't want to be responsible for it. And the saddest reality of this is if you point the finger for your entire life, then you are giving the power to other people to affect your life. Whereas if in scenarios where you do something wrong or in scenarios where things go wrong, if you look to what you did wrong, you don't have to point the finger. You could even think it's the other person's fault, but just look at what you did. Look at how you could have done it a little bit better. And through that level of introspection, you're in for a world of growth, a world of development.
Have a dark side, that you can be short-sighted, that when you have success, it goes to your head and you think you're absolutely wonderful, that you, yes, you are a conformist. You conform to what other people are thinking and doing. I'm sorry, I did that.
Dude, when I read this section, I was like, I'm not a conformist because I hate conformity. And then I was thinking, I'm like, I follow every law. I follow the traffic signs. I I you know walk on a crosswalk. Like even the most non-conforming people, like spiritually, I feel myself as a conformist. Like anything that's popular, anything that's consensus, there's just something in me that wants to not necessarily tear it down, but just be on the opposite side of it. And I had to admit to myself that I was wrong in this moment. I was so heartbroken. The rebel inside of me was angry.
Everybody does that. Even the most powerful people in the world have all of these traits. Some of the powerful people have it even worse. Some of the greatest narcissists among
The most powerful people have these traits the worst. Essentially, think of a crowd as an amalgamation of certain forces. This is just Gustave Le Bon. It's a very interesting book if you want to pick it up. But essentially, leaders are just the manifestations of the wills of the crowd. So, what do all of these people have? They have unresolved issues with certain ideas. They have unresolved issues with their parents or some sort of authority or some archetype that gets embodied in their political affiliations. And that's why seemingly politicians are some of the worst people because it's the worst in all of us manifested onto a global stage.
us are those with a lot of power, okay? I want you to look inside. I want you to take that that telescope and turn it around and look inside of yourself and recognize it. It's not to beat yourself up. It's not to say, I'm a terrible person. Oh, I'm just awful. I'm so sorry. I don't even know why I exist. No, it's to give you the power, once you recognize these qualities, to change them because they're causing you problems. If you have narcissism and it's a little worse than other people, it's making you say and do things that you're going to regret. It's lessening your options in life. It's narrowing your ability to maneuver in the world because you're always repeating the same problems over and over and over again. It's called compulsive behavior. When you don't recognize these traits in you, you have compulsive behavior. You repeat them over and over and over.
This is something that Jung said. I'm paraphrasing him, but basically what he said was you deal with the same kind of people until you own your own issues. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have friends that continually stab you in the back. Well, they're stabbing you in the back because you don't respect yourself enough to surround yourself with people that are more loyal. you think you're worthy of these people, and you outwardly manifest that body language to people, and that aura and energy to people, and whatever chance, whatever fate, whatever intuition has just brings those same kind of people into your lives. Same thing with relationships. You know, think of how many people you have dated that have the same exact characteristics and the same exact pitfalls. And what is that? Is that the whole world? Is that the world coming out to get you? Is that just an entire gender of people are awful, or is that you? Is that some shortcoming in you? Is that some fault that you have that you need to work on? And again, it's easier to say, it's easier to take the bird's eye view and look at somebody else and say, well, this person's doing this person's doing this, and it's a whole nother thing to recognize it in yourself, especially when there's emotion involved, especially when there's ego involved. But the sooner you do this, the sooner you will exist in a happier world.
Over again. So it's not to beat yourself up, it's to recognize that yes, Robert Greene, I feel envy towards people. All right, I recognize it. Now what can I do to change that? Well, in each chapter I discuss that, okay? It gives you the power to change yourself. And I have a quote in there from the writer Chekhov saying, you cannot begin to change yourself unless you know who you are.
Again, it's that the first step to AA. It's you can't admit you can't solve the problem until you admit you have. It's this idea, and this is something that's definitely been repeated time and time throughout history. It's something that seems to be understood by every great author, and you can find an example of absolutely anyone saying that.
Are, okay? So if you don't know
It's a
who
pretty
you
good way of putting
are
it, though.
and yet you want to become a better person, it's hopeless because you're not willing to look at yourself. So look at yourself deeply. It's painful, but it's incredibly productive. The second
And this is where a lot of self-help fails. This is where a lot of like self-help habits kind of fall short. Because think about it, it's improve your situation, it's improve your physical health, improve these things, but you don't get out the root problem. You don't fix the thing that's actually bothering you, which is your own actions, your own attitude, your own character that is continually letting yourself down. And that's why you need to delve into yourself. That's why you need to be introspective. That's why you need to see your shortcomings and admit to them and be open and honest. And I mean, really, really, what the solution that Jung offered, because he's just ripping straight Jungian psychology right now. I'm not faulting him, but again, these are ideas that have existed throughout history, so maybe he's not referencing Jung exactly, but it seems to be Jung for me. But essentially, what you need to do is accept yourself wholly, is integrate the parts of yourself that aren't being integrated. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're a creative person and your day-to-day life doesn't have creativity, so that this gap in expression is slowly being built up, and you need to find a way to get it out, and somebody pisses you off and that emotion just springs out of you. You start yelling at them, you come up with the most creative curse words ever. That energy and emotion is manifested in the most negative way possible. Whereas if you just took time to sketch in a journal, or took time to write every day, write a little poem, write a little uh, story, whatever it is that you have to do, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, just find those things that you really have a deep passion for, and a deep need for in your life. And once you start integrating your energy and your passion and your emotions in a more positive way, you will see a real change in your life.
half of the laws of human nature is the outward look. It's seeing into other people. Okay, once you understand that you have these qualities, and you can begin by looking at other people, it doesn't matter, but you have to do these two sides. You look at other people and you see these qualities in them. You don't like look at them for what you want to see. So a lot of the problems that you have in life is, for instance, somebody who's a narcissist, they're very good at charming you and saying, oh, you're so wonderful, love, they like you, they give you attention. You're drawn into their world, and then they proceed to use you. Then they proceed to hurt you. Or you hire somebody because they have a charming, pleasing exterior, and they're incompetent, they're stupid, they're lazy. You didn't see that. You have problems because you don't see clearly into the people around you. You don't see their own dark.
What you see in others, you see in yourself. This could be good or bad. Like one of the greatest things I ever just discovered one day, because this is a broader point, but one of my issues with like reading psychology or studying psychology is that so much of it is focused on unhealthy minds and so little of it is focused on healthy minds. And that's like a lot of the reason why I just grow bored of it eventually. But the things you like about your friends, the things that you like about other people, even the aspirational qualities that you see in like a role model or a character that you like is something you embody. Because it's just projection. You're just projecting on your positive qualities, and that's why you have an affinity for somebody, because in some way you, in your heart, know that you're similar to that person.
Are qualities, okay? The second half is you look at people divorced from your emotions, divorced from your projections, divorced from what you want to see them. You look at them in the real light of who they are. It's not to make you paranoid. It's not to make you misanthropic or hate people. It just makes you able to make better decisions in life, to see the toxic people out there. I believe 5% of the people you deal with are genuinely toxic. I just pull that number out of you know where, but that's what my evidence is, okay? You're dealing with them all the time, but toxic people don't go around with a little neon sign saying, I'm toxic.
It's when you become aware of these sorts of characteristics and the kind of people that you want to avoid, you can always see it once you become pretty good at recognizing these things. And it's not anything against the person. So it's just this person I'm not gonna have a good exchange with. This person is not going to like me. No matter what I do, this person's going to see somebody from their past that they didn't like. So why am I going to spend time? Why not spend time in a fruitful relationship? Why not spend time, getting to know someone better that I could be friends with or I could have a beneficial relationship with. And I think that's really what we need to distinguish.
Toxic. I have a lot of envy. I'm narcissist. They disguise it. Okay, the ability to recognize, to say that person has a toxic personality. I'm not going to get in a relationship with them. Do you realize how much drama and how much pain that will simply save you in life? I can't emphasize it enough. Not involving yourself with one nasty person in your life can save you years of trauma, years of therapy. So I want you to be able to look at people in this dispassionate light and analyze them through the 18 laws of human nature and analyze yourself. If you only analyze
Once you once you really do a lot of work into yourself, it's not even that difficult. You'll just immediately spot people that just don't click with you, that don't match up with you, that are diametrically opposed to you and despise every fiber of your being. You just sense it. You just know. It's an intuition. It's a gut feeling. It's something that is just understood, and perhaps that's the best aspect of really doing the work onto yourself.
yourself, you're kind of wobbly. You don't understand, it's not good. You're still going to be making mistakes. If you only look at other people, you're ignoring your own qualities, and that's also a problem. If you have these two sides, I guarantee you, you will be a superior social animal. You will understand human nature, and you will navigate this world with much more grace and much more ease with all the needless pain and suffering that you.
That's a pretty good video. I think I'm gonna end the stream now. Um, yeah, with that, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Peace out.